Hello and welcome again to Between the Sheets, the programme that allows us to go inside the newspapers. And joining me today, lead guitarist and vocalist for the Vamps, it's James McVey, and also broadcaster and columnist Dawn Neesom. Welcome to you both. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's go straight in between the sheets. Why not? Oh.
Channel 5 last night, the very controversial Channel 5, started screening their three-parter of Anne Boleyn. It's a drama, I'm emphasising the word drama, because it's not a documentary, about the life of Anne Boleyn.
Right.
Now, the main problem that everyone seems to have with this is the fact that Anne Boleyn is played by an actress who is not white.
But should we just now be colourblind? To the extent that if you want to cast anybody in any role, you should be colourblind. But the problem is, I suppose, if there was a black character and you played them with a white actress or actor, as we've seen in various different cases, that is a disaster. And we have not got to a place where anybody can play any role.
It has to work both ways. I completely agree with that. Now, the thing with this, right, if a person's skin colour is relevant...
She's a lesbian!
She's a lesbian as well. I'm getting to that bit.
But what's she a lesbian? Is there any historical truth in this?
I don't know. But the point of this, right, if a skin colour is relevant to the role someone's playing, Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, if the skin colour is relevant to the story, then have a black actor playing that role. Then it's important. Anne Boleyn's story is about being a woman, it's about passion, it's about betrayal. Doesn't matter what colour the actress is.
So why are people getting so excited about it? James?
I mean, who cares? Because it's not based on history, really, is it? We know the name. It is a drama, so I don't see how people can be that up in arms about a black actress playing this. You know, we had something similar when Hermione Granger from Harry Potter was portrayed by a black actress a few years ago, and there was uproar. And I'm like, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Who cares?
It doesn't matter. Look, Anne Boleyn wasn't a fictional character. I get that, but the main shocking thing last night was, as you say, she was a lesbian. She was kissing Jane Seymour. I mean, who knew that ever happened?
Did they ever have a friendship or anything? I mean, who knows?
Who knows? But I mean, Anne Boleyn had her head chopped off so Jane Seymour could jump in bed with Henry VIII.
Right.
That's the history,
but,
isn't it?
I mean, has anyone
why wouldn't you snog her?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine many people are gonna watch it. To be fair, because I'd watch a genuinely historical thing on this, but I mean, it's kind of
a drama. It's up there with watching Star Trek.
But then on the other hand, if, for example, if you brought it up to date and you said, right, okay, we're going to do The Crown, and by the way, Her Majesty's going to be played by a black actress, couldn't do that.
Don't know. Well, you could in theory, because acting is all about dressing up and pretending to be someone you're not.
Yeah, but then...
are we doing colourblind casting or aren't we? You can't have it one way or the other. I just take the view
that I think that it does have to be culturally appropriate to the extent that I think you probably learn more. In this instance, I think if you're telling a different story that is very distant, and to be honest, I think it perhaps adds more to the intrigue, then fine, go with it.
It's based loosely on the story of a woman that was betrayed horribly by a man.
But we've still got a tremendous woke problem where we don't know what to say. We don't know if, for example, having criticised that and saying, and then, for example, if you do go into it, and a lot of people have done reviews and it's got like 2 stars, and they say it's nothing to do with the casting of Anne Boleyn as by a black actor. That's fine. It's a bit crap, and it's a bit thin, and it's a bit sort of school childy, and it's a bit sort of drama by numbers.
And it's the slight cynic in me.
I haven't even watched it.
The very slight cynic in me thinks it might be just a little cunning ploy by Channel 5 to get something that is tucked away talked about.
Oh, it's very well talked about.
Congratulations.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you know what we have to do? Oh, good. It's the Daily Star. Because it does bring us on to this week's wokery, because there's somebody in here called Dawn Neesom.
Oh, yeah. I'm not on page 1. Hello, Daily Star people. Yeah. Why I'm not on page 1? You've got a cigarette on there instead.
Yeah, you got a fag instead of a hag.
I know. Oh, you can't say that.
Oh, and I've stolen the joke.
Actually, talking about being politically correct and what you can and can't say, can you use the word fag anymore in this country?
Well, no, because if you go to Oxfordshire, they're trying to ban smoking.
I know, they're trying to ban smoking, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely not.
Unbelievable.
That's wrong. Civil liberties.
Okay, stop Orwellian march on students' thoughts.
Yeah, yes.
How do we deal with this, James? Are we being old-fashioned and ridiculous on the basis that our generation is very concerned about what the next generation is thinking and doing?
Well, you're young.
Yeah.
He's young. He's very young.
I think we're all, and I'm included in this bracket, we're all a bit confused with where the world's going, you think, with social media and data and stuff. And I think we're all just trying to figure it out. And I do think that the slightly older generations perhaps see anything that's sort of forward thinking with technology is maybe scary and daunting. I mean, we don't like change,
I'm not scared
do we?
or daunted by technology. I am irritated and frustrated that people don't think that they need to stick to the rules. And I'm even worse, I'm even more annoyed by the fact that if you are going to talk about what is happening in the world, then you have to either reference or erase, or you have to remove different parts of culture, or you can't talk about things as they were, or you can't celebrate things as they were. And you have to look in today's lens and yesterday, and it doesn't work for me.
Well, this particular college that we're talking about here, it's our King's College, I've forgotten which one it was, they've actually got someone that goes through their books to make sure, to decolonise the library.
Right.
Now, didn't the Nazis try that? Decolonising books?
Well, they burn books.
Yeah,
well, yeah,
it's sort of slightly an extreme example.
Which is that
it's a bit wrong, isn't it?
It is a bit wrong, because what they were trying to do is to say that is not the way that we wish history to be portrayed. We are going to rewrite history. And that's what we've got at the moment, which is that you've got a lot of people who, for whatever reason, don't particularly like their lot in life. And they have decided that this is the way in which they can get some kind of redistribution, which is not dealing with the fact that we live in a society where whoever you are, you can perform the most extraordinary career and
apart from us, obviously,
entrepreneurial trajectory to allow you to create pretty much anything, and yet that isn't enough. And you now want to then take away from people who have been fortunate or have had that situation and say, right, okay, woe is me, my life is terrible because.
This is sort of like woke speak, obviously. I can be woke face with the casting of a drama, obviously, but this is the ultimate in woke face, because it is really like they are marking students down for not having the right thought process, not thinking the right things. Now that is wrong. That is George Orwell's 1984. But the hilarious thing was, I said this to a student the other day about, it's like 1984, isn't it? George Orwell, and she goes, who?
That's
she
the
was
problem.
A student. So what are they teaching them? They're teaching them wrong speak, wrong think, but they're not teaching them about literature or art or music or chemistry or physics.
Now, one thing that was very important when we were growing up is a great column, Dawn Neesom,
Thank you very much.
on the Wednesday.
Nearly as good as yours in that. What's a really interesting paper you wrote? Financial Times.
The Financial Times.
Have you got a column? Can I ask if you've got a column, or is that just the wrong thing to say to a young man?
I do have a column, yes. Yes.
You've got a column, I know, but yours is...
Two columns, in fact.
Yours is old and pink, isn't it?
I have two columns. One is called Rich People's Problems.
Have you seen a doctor about that one?
Indeed. And the other is called Semi-Detached.
You definitely need to see a doctor about that one.
I do indeed. Right, now I'd like to keep you a little bit quiet, if you wouldn't mind, Dawn, because I've got a task. Inside the sun, there is this. You can make your very own cool hat to go with the sunshine. Whilst I talk to James McVey, can you make the hat?
You are joking me, aren't you? James is better than me at doing things like this. He's younger, he's more dexterous. He plays instruments, which, by the way, are racist as well. Did you know that?
Right.
Wow.
They
James,
are.
on the front page of today's Times newspaper, there's a picture of an individual. Is he cool?
Well, this is the thing, right?
Is he cool?
I had no idea that was Keir Starmer, because I would look at that and think there's no way it could be. Because that haircut is very, very trendy at the moment. It looks like he's in an indie band, doesn't he, there? And I kind of wish he'd carried across some of that into later life, because maybe he'd have a few more people rooting for him.
I thought it looked like something out of Duran Duran, she says, ignoring the fact
No, but I
that
like
she's given
Duran
up on
Duran,
it.
so that's the difference. Duran Duran was amazing.
Yeah, but they had
The
hair
only
like
interesting
that.
thing I learned from that interview, he's an Arsenal supporter. Didn't know that.
Right.
But they're all Arsenal supporters. Wasn't Jeremy Corbyn an Arsenal supporter?
Oh, God, I hope not.
Well, yeah, exactly. Why are you all Arsenal supporters?
Well, I'm
What's
not
wrong
really.
with-
I don't care about football.
No. You're more tennis, aren't you? But no, I mean, I watched it last night. I did my duty. I watched it. And would it change how I vote? No. Did it prove him to have a personality, which was the whole point of it? No.
Is this the problem though? I mean, look, if you're
tingling.
but if you're a politician, you can't reveal for whatever reason. You can't reveal too much. I mean, it does take me actually to a fascinating, almost piece of diatribe in the Eye, which is if anybody buys the Eye, I don't know if they do.
Who buys it?
Well, I get it for free.
No.
So there we go. Inside the Eye, there is a column by Yasmin Alibi Brown, who I've known for many years, and I have a lot of respect for. She's a wonderful
Yasmin.
writer.
She's very nice.
She's lovely, but she does have this real Boris problem, and she has consistently. If you just say the word Boris to her, it's like and then she turns into a yapping terrier. and because she gets so upset about it, and she's just spent the whole time being rude about him, denigrating him. You know, after the wedding, it's a cynical ploy, it's a this, it's a that, and oh, they're so privileged and they can do these things, and everybody in the country, they've been working hard. And then she goes on to talk about food banks, and then she's yakking on about all this other stuff, and then Rishi Sunak's billionaire wife claiming furlough money. Well, she's probably not claiming furlough money for herself, it's probably for a business. She might have given it away, I don't know. And then, but she does all of this without at one stage saying, oh, and by the way, I didn't like the education system, so I had the money and I sent my child to private school. So if you're going to go after people for privilege, don't hide behind your own.
The slight hypocrisy card.
Yeah,
there's lots of people playing that at the moment, isn't there?
Oh, sorry, Yasmin, but
oh, poor Yasmin.
Yasmin, sorry, but you're getting torn up today because it's rubbish.
But you've just torn that lovely wedding picture up as well.
Oh, I don't care.
I think they're quickly going back to the Keir Starmer thing with Piers Morgan. The fact that sort of 2/3 of us here didn't watch it maybe is a sign that.
And I only watched it for work.
Well,
to be honest with you,
because I really like watching his interviews normally, and I wasn't particularly interested.
Piers?
No, Piers.
Oh, I was going to say.
No, not Kiers. Just
Tears.
Captain Hindsight. I mean, the thing is also that, you know, if I want to watch, I want to watch a hard interview with Keir Starmer. I don't want to watch this. I want someone who's going to say, if you wanted to be in touch with the people, we know about your, you know, putting yourself up from the bootstraps and doing all this stuff, but
lose your knighthood.
Lose the knighthood.
You
know, I want to get some real views on some of the other things.
He didn't know it wasn't touched on. He cried over his mum and dad, which everyone is going to cry over their mum and dad. If you love your mum and dad and they die, you're going to cry. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, and we know that it's not a Piers Morgan life story unless it's Tears.
No, absolutely.
Would you do life stories?
I've not lived long enough yet to have many, so.
But you've still got more of a personality than he has.
Thank you.
Blimey.
But isn't that the problem though? That you know, he is trying to Keir Starmer. Okay, what can Keir Starmer do to appeal to a generation who is just either thinks he's boring, is not going to vote for him?
I think he needs to lose his knighthood and probably put on a northern accent, because I think at the moment, how is he relatable to people in the north? I think like maybe.
But Boris Johnson doesn't have a northern accent. Boris Johnson doesn't behave by the rules.
You know what Boris Johnson has got, and I can't stand him. I'm with Yasmin on this one. I can't stand him, and Carrie, you have my sympathy. He has charisma.
Yeah.
What brings him
that charisma?
And that's
what makes him dangerous, to be fair, because he can get away with some crazy things, but because he looks funny and sounds funny, right?
Politicians get away with crazy things.
No, they don't, because, I mean, Boris, you know, the whole Cummings thing, everything that has been slung at Boris, the infidelities, I mean, how many children does he have?
I don't think he knows.
Et cetera,
I don't think he does.
Exactly. Maybe that's why he's not answering it,
His maths isn't that good.
And that's why he got married before we changed the rule of 30 at weddings, just in case of his kids.
Wow.
But, you know, it's got personality, and I'm sorry, Keir, a lovely bloke, cry over your dad and your mum, but...
It's a shame, really, isn't it? It is a shame.
Where's a gooner? What do you expect? Sorry, gooners.
He's a what?
A gooner.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's slang for Arsenal fans.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Here's a double page spread. So, this is this swimming pool, which has now appeared in Battersea.
Has it been built now?
Yes.
Okay.
So the influencers, and we'll come on to talk about influencers in a minute. Yeah. The influencers have already been in taking their pictures up in the pool, because that's a trendy place to go. And Mark Palmer in here has been saying, oh, isn't it shocking? It's making the waves for all the wrong reasons, because guess what? There are some affordable houses in the blocks, and they don't have the pass to the pool.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think if you're... It depends how these things are done. You don't have access to all sorts of things. If, for example, you live in a big apartment building and there's a restaurant or there's a something, you know, yes, you can get in and you can book, or there's a members club, then you've got to become a member.
So these influencers, they live in that building, do they?
No, they've been invited so that they can do all
that.
So
the influencing. Yeah, and all the journal. I mean, I must admit, if I was still a reporter on a newspaper, I'd go, I'll do this job. I'll go there. I'll do that. I don't mind. That's fine. It's brilliant. It's amazing, isn't it?
I think it's.
Would you use it, James? Would you use it?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I mean, there are.
There's
massive acrylic things. So it was made in the States. Took 3 weeks to fly it over and then plop it in place. And it's a talking point. I mean, you know, does it make the whole of Battersea and Nine Elms less hideous? No. But of course, we're going to see the Northern Line extension. It's going to be the place to be. They're trying to sort of create destinations. Here's the destination. I guess the story here is it wrong to exclude people from certain places? And the answer to that is, well, you've got to exclude them by numbers. If people are bought into it and it's a club or it's a whatever, then sorry, that's the way it goes.
Would you exclude me from your tennis club in posh Frinton-on-Sea?
You may join, and he's been.
I've been.
He's been to the...
He's got tattoos. He's allowed, so I'll be fine.
Yes, I don't have a no tattoo rule.
Yeah.
Well, most
with the affordable homes though, did they purchase those flats knowing that pool was going to be there? Were they thinking they were going to use it, and then last minute they were said can't have it? So they knew from the off. So okay, then how is it different from having access to a roof terrace in a penthouse in a big high rise normally?
Exactly. So you've either got access to some things and it comes with it, or you don't.
Yeah.
But I don't see any problem. If it solves the housing problem and it means that we're providing affordable housing, you can't have access to everything.
James, as he just said, if you knew about it in the first place when you moved in there,
I think the point here is that the Daily Mail didn't know about it. Now they know about it, and it makes a double page splash.
I guess that the poor people who live in these apartments are probably out busy working, doing the jobs that need doing, and haven't got time to go swimming.
But then what a racket from the pool, though. I mean, because
there was one picture of a woman who was sitting there. I can't see. They're not there. When she's sitting in front of a cup of coffee, and there's like a swimming pool under a balcony, and it's like that's going to be really annoying.
I wouldn't want that. And the other thing is that you don't want to.
And plus, some people are very unattractive in swimwear.
Well, especially from underneath, I imagine. But I think the point is, though,
thank you.
There's probably
the really baggy swim shorts.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But I imagine, knowing with how these things go, the percentage of affordable homes is probably 1% or something. Yeah. So there's probably only one family there wishing they could use the pool. So
I bet they've got a separate area as well.
It is probably more. But anyway, now let's talk about influencers. They're on the front page of the papers, but they're also on the insides of the papers. So, James, maybe you need to explain to us how these things work, because
in young speak,
in young speak, because I guess, say for example, if I'm doing a radio show and there are adverts, then the adverts have to play by the rules. Yeah. There are all sorts of laws and regulations about it, who gets the money, how it's done, and it's regulated. Yeah. If, however, you want to promote something on social media, you now have to say, oh, this is a promotion. But other than that, you can kind of say what you want, can't you?
You can. I mean, there's 2 points. One, companies actually that do the adverts with influencers try their best to avoid someone saying ad. But from personal experience, a lot of them do, because they know that followers of that person won't believe it as much, right? So that, in my opinion, I think a lot of companies go out of their way to try. So do you think then that there are a lot of people who are influencers who are running around in clothes and bits and pieces that's all been provided,
and it's just like, oh.
Your first mistake was saying running around in clothes. None of them
lying
do that.
around with no clothes on.
Lying around with no clothes on is more apt.
Well, they've got some clothes here, but it looks like they've had so much work done. I mean,
there's another point though.
Not good look, is
another point with it though, because a lot of these contracts that are struck between influencers and companies, is quite sort of like tight parameters with what they're getting paid to do. So, for example, an influencer may be paid to post something on their main Instagram grid, but in the contract they may not be paid for sharing things on their story, which is like the highlight reel. So, do they have to declare that it's an ad on the highlight reel if they've not been paid to do that?
But you see, the thing is, I suppose, well, exactly, because ultimately we're going to have a whole load of people who then turn up and they're doing these things. They're being paid for it. I don't think people realise quite how this works and how much money is washing through people's hands.
And the point of this particular story is actually quite annoying, apart from the fact they look like inflated blow-up dolls, is the fact that they are plugging a loan company to their fans who are very young, very vulnerable, don't have a lot of money. So that is bad influencing.
Yes. But then, does this need to, look, I mean, do we need to take another look at social media companies? Because I think the amount of damage is that's being done. I mean, there is another story in here which is saying, I wouldn't allow my 7-year-old child to go on TikTok.
I mean, who would, really? I'd love to meet someone that's all fine with their 5-year-old on TikTok.
But should we have a phone? I know, but we've got so many kids who are looking at it. Even if they're not on it, they are looking at it or whatever.
Yeah.
How do we regulate and say this is no longer appropriate? This is wrong. This is causing this is causing. We haven't really sort of touched on mental health issues yet, but we probably need to, because this is causing a mental health crisis with younger people who spend their whole time looking in the mirror going, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that.
But they look at like the women on the front of that, on the Sun there and inside, and indeed on my column, and they think, oh, that's what a real woman looks like. No, it's not.
And the thing is, when I started doing the Vamps sort of 10 years ago, I was 18, and for me I felt like I was the generation that was first having the negative effects of social media. But if you think it's now 10 years earlier, people are 7, 8 years old, and I had a massive issue with sort of body dysmorphia, eating issues because of social media and a variety of factors. And I was 18. Can you imagine dealing with that at the age of 8? Which I'm sure we'll see in the next 10 years.
I think
the
statistics will bring people through, surely.
Yeah.
But let's just then bring into the conversation, because there's a fascinating article. We're sort of dealing with the aftermath now of the tennis situation. Yeah. So the tennis situation is, number 2 tennis player in the world decides that she doesn't want to do the media conference
interviews,
after the match, because she said she's struggling with mental health issues, and it just sends her off on one. And I kind of, on one hand, on one level I understand it, and then on the other level I say, hang on a second, you're just biting the hand that feeds you. Because we've got this thing where these tournaments, you're doing these tournaments and playing the tennis, you're not playing it just for the love of tennis. You're doing it because you want to win, you're doing it because you want to be the world #1, you're doing it because you want to earn the money, and then you're doing it because you want to have the endorsements that also pay for whatever lifestyle you have. So if you're going to take all that stuff, in the same way that Harry and Meghan are very happy to take the money, but oh, woe betide if anybody criticises them, you know, we've now ended up in this very strange place where you cannot criticise a youngster because it might damage their mental health. Am I just being...
I think you're trying to rationalise something that you can't, because you don't know when you're going to have episodes of mental health problems. And I think it's easy to say, oh, she shouldn't have signed up to do it, but she probably never wanted to have mental health issues, did she?
No, she's hit nobody wants to do that.
She may well have been fine in previous tournaments and it'd been great, and it may have just happened. You know, she's what, 23?
Yeah, because I do... You see the other side of me that says that the first tweet I thought was horrendous, and I was all ready to pile in, and I thought, no, hang on a second. The second one, which she went into much more detail, and I thought, oh, hang on a second. Maybe we need to change it. But then, in fact, what we're really saying is, look at where money and how money is made. And it goes right back to, we've got these influencers on the front page. There is no regulation as to how and where money ends up. And what we're really talking about is tennis players and sports stars have become clothes horses and vehicles to either put bums on seats or to sell merch. Now, you put bums on seats and sell merch, but it's kind of a slightly different thing in a way, because I don't know. I mean, but then there are other record companies in between who are just about, you know, ramping, and we hear how difficult it has been for pop stars, if you like, who are on that machine as opposed to doing their own thing.
Yes, but it's not within my contract to do interviews with things. If I didn't want to, I wouldn't have to do this, you know. And she has to do that. With
Naomi, she is part of her contract with playing with the French Open was she gave media interviews afterwards, so she was in breach of contract. It's, as you say, it's a really, really difficult one, because on one hand, I mean, she is incredibly shy. She happens to be very, very good at her sport, but she's incredibly shy, and she does suffer from depression. So
did she do the right thing by pulling out?
I think for her, yes, if that's what she wants to do. Because she can only do what is right for her.
Because by pulling out, I think she did do the right thing, because I think she's now highlighted that there probably needs to be some level of change. But I think we're going to have to understand where the money's going with all of this.
Yeah, no, the problem I have with her pulling out is that women in sport in general, and I guess I'm working at Wokeface again, is very, very...
We've turned you.
Underplayed. Don't even start me on that. But it's very much underplayed, and she was amazing. She was young. She's very successful, and I like what she was doing for women in that. It's not my sport, but for women in that sport. And the same with women in football. And I think the more powerful, strong women we have leading the way, like Naomi. So I think by her stepping back, it's a message that I'm not sure is that encouraging to young female tennis players coming up behind her. See, wokey face. But so I'm divided on her, I must admit.
Right,
but
here we are.
She's lost the money. She's been fined, so that's her decision.
You see, look, that amount of money, and she probably will end up not being fined, actually. But interesting. But I
she already
find
has
it
been,
fascinating. Well, she has been, but I think that they might revoke it, because I think there's a situation
too much mental health issue going on.
But on the other hand, so Marina Hyde here says, amazing, really, that the most appalling people in tennis are not the ones who applaud piously when the Wimbledon umpire tells the crowd to ensure their mobile phones are switched to silent, nor even the ones who are far more hypothetically enchanted by the appearance of a pigeon on centre court. And this is those who are unable to deal with the world #2, Naomi Osaka, announcing last week that she didn't feel mentally up for doing press conferences. So what she's really saying is it's those people in charge of the game and in charge of the tournaments. And I just think, well, you know, from your point of view, you are working for a newspaper that feeds off this stuff.
Well, of course, absolutely. How many words has she got out of that? Thousands of words today.
So on one hand, I applaud the discussion, because I think it's very easy to pile in on the tennis player herself. But I don't applaud those who are sort of pushing it and making, oh, the press is so wonderful.
What I would say with this, though, the past couple of years, you know, there's been so much conversation around mental health, and I think that when episodes like this occur, we have to sort of put our money where our mouth is with this, and that's why I'm supporting her, because what's the point in doing TV adverts with a bank saying, oh, we're looking after our people's mental health by giving them tax relief, all that stuff, but then when something like this happens, oh, no, you can't do it because it's affecting my viewership. You have to support people in this position.
Is the person with mental health always right? Because haven't we now got to the stage where if somebody says, "Oh, don't," because my mental health is, well,
do we think
you can't then have a conversation about that person who's then not doing the job?
Do we think like the mental health card has become like the race card? People are using it for the wrong things.
I think there are.
Well, I mean, in this particular instance with Naomi, you know, she has had, as she said on Twitter, she's had years of difficulties with depression.
I don't think she is, to be fair.
No, okay, yeah.
But you think some people are?
Yes.
And I think I know a couple of people.
People are allowing some tremendous lapses in judgment to be blamed on mental health.
It's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because I'm a massive...
Harry and Meghan, James. What do you think about Harry and Meghan and their mental health?
I'm a strong supporter of those two. Perhaps not the others as much.
They're rinsing it for cash. How can you support them when they're just rinsing it?
I think that there needs to be change within the royal family with how they approach things, like mental health, for example. You think like William, so vocal about the Heads Together, which I supported. I was an ambassador for that.
But he's doing it in a way that is
He's doing it in a way that you appreciate and support, but mental health can't be sort of pigeonholed into what you think is right and wrong. It's a general conversation that we all need to be willing to change our minds on, right?
Okay, so does that mean that by having a car crash on television, and slagging off your family and all of that in order to whether to deal with your mental health problems, you're kind of putting on everything else, that's okay?
I think we have to take mental health claims seriously, and I find it quite disgusting when people just dispel the sort of the claims that she was suicidal. I think
I'm not. But it's the way that they then flagged them and have continually used them.
I think what you're trying to say, and sorry for interrupting and womansplaining this, but so James, do you think that it was acceptable for them to throw their family's mental health under the bus, to use that term, i.e. the grandmother, the father, the brother, by talking about it so publicly? Do you think that's acceptable?
I think that something drastic had to happen because we wouldn't have had change without that. And we're having this conversation now months after it happened. How many strides forward have been taken by the royal family to sort of like embrace mental health and wokeness in that regard?
None.
Up to this point, zero, right?
I think
it's made it worse.
I think it's created more division.
I don't think it has. I think over time we'll realise, actually looking back in 10 years, that what Harry and Meghan did was needed. What was the other option? To just bite their lip and do nothing and stay there?
The thing is that I totally...
go to America, but to stop making money off of the pain of a family, whether they're royal or not.
With it. I applaud what they've done for mental health.
Right.
I do not applaud the way that they've done it, and the way that they have. When they've talked about and said, "Oh, you know, this is a problem that we all face," no, you cannot. In the same way that we can't experience what's happening in your life, you can't experience what's happening in other people's lives because they have so much money and so many people and so many luxuries that are afforded to them as a result of the institution that they are a part of or became a part of and have now walked away from, that gives them tremendous privilege. And I don't think they're helping anybody else. I think they're helping themselves. They're just having, open air therapy. And it's like an open season against, and they probably caused tremendous problems with with William and with Charles.
And certainly with Charles, who I think is sensitive at the best of times. But this is interesting because I feel like an umpire between the two Jameses here. And there's so much generational divide on almost every main subject you talk about today.
But is that
which I don't even remember as a youngster myself.
But is that because...
Back in 1872.
Is that because... look, my generation, I'm sure, has faced all the issues that today's generation has in different ways. So bullying at school, racism, facism,
but you were not
all sorts of things.
You weren't able to talk about it because society deemed that inappropriate to sort of reveal that emotion of yourself. And look where we got to statistically, with male suicide, for example. Look at the problem we have now.
I think that is a problem. But I think if you are strong and strong-minded, then you're
lucky because
then you're lucky and you've worked your way through. And I've had plenty of things to deal with, but I just got on with it. But I think there's now too much of a. I'm just worried that on one hand, mental health, we've got to work out how to deal with it, and I think it's really important. Yeah. But on the other hand, I think there are a lot of people who are using it in the same way that ADHD is suddenly a thing, and a lot of kids and parents
yeah.
or OCD and everything have used it as an excuse. Look, I'm dyslexic, dyspraxic, the whole lot. I haven't used that as an excuse for sometimes getting my words wrong when I'm reading something out or doing something. You just get on with it.
You just did. You just did. You just did use that as an excuse for getting your words muddled.
Wow.
I think there's a valid point though with that, right? Because inevitably,
Don't tell him he's got a valid point. He'll never get over it.
But you know, we're speaking about social media originally and like where that's going to end with TikTok and stuff, and it's it's kind of similar like that. Where is it going to end? Because we have to be taken seriously. And we don't want everyone coming out saying that there's an issue when the really serious things are overlooked because it's deemed as someone crying wolf or something. So I don't know the answer there, and I don't think anyone.
No, I don't think this is the problem. Nobody has the answer. So should we talk about sex? Baby, you can. I
don't know much about it.
I've
been married for way too long.
I was going to talk about food, but we'll talk about food after the
sex.
And
food.
Let's do sex and food.
It's a good combination. What do you want to start? With the sex or the food? What do you do first? Have sex or eat dinner?
Oh, let's do sex first. After food, you just want to sleep.
And because this is a I never eat that much.
We can tell.
I'm never tired. Right, okay, this is the Daily Mail. And you might have missed it, boys. I know it's probably not your cup of tea, but they've done an entire double-page spread on the new 50 Shades Freed, as told by Christian E.L. James novel coming out. 50 Shades of Grey. Remember that?
Yeah, never saw it,
the
but
films?
yeah, okay.
It's just all appalling.
The new one's out. I'm whipping up some interest.
But what I find so extraordinary is that it's books like that have, I know, I'm just trying to skate over it. It's books like that, though, that have kind of fueled a lot of inappropriate behaviour in real life. And yet people have this...
What has it inspired you to get up to, James?
Well, it hasn't. Not me.
There's a valid point, though, and maybe it's a wider top of what you wanted to do.
Twice you've told him he's had valid points, okay? It never happens.
But what I mean is, especially from, both men and women's perspective, we need to redefine how we view sex in society, right? Because you add those films, that saga, or however many there are, and then the porn industry, and you have 15-year-old boys growing up thinking that they can expect a certain level of sexual encounters with women that's quite frankly just not how it is,
I
right?
mean, yeah, but the reason I think, look, I've read it, the writing is dreadful, it's even worse than my column in the Daily Star, and I can say that, you can't. But the thing with 50 Shades of Grey, they call it mummy porn, but the actual story is old school romance. It is.
Right.
It is tall
Mills
dark.
and Boone.
Mills and Boone with shackles and stockings.
I'm just pleased
it's like
it's the end.
Tall, dark, handsome man whisks young woman.
I'm just pleased it's the end of the
foot.
series. I could care less about it.
Yeah.
But it does. It's one of the most successful selling books of all time.
Porn is successful. Doesn't make it good.
Her bridal gown falls to her feet, leaving her in a corset with garters and stockings. All the blood in my body heads south. How can you not want to read more?
Quite easily.
I tried.
Let's talk about food. And on that bombshell, we must end. Thank you very much indeed to my contributors today. James McVey, lead guitarist from the Vamps. There's new music out, all sorts of things. Go and check it out. And also columnist from the Daily Star and all-round broadcaster, wonderful person, Neesom. And indeed me, James Max. Until the next time, thanks for watching.